Have you ever had a moment with a woman where things suddenly just dawned on you and you thought to yourself, wait, what? This is how this works? A lot of the time, these reality checks in the dating game can leave you stunned, angry, or confused, but it's usually the exact thing you need in order to understand how to navigate the game and get better with women. And if you're like me, you've definitely had many of these moments in the past. And in this video, I want to talk about some of the brutal dating truths that I discovered over time and how they can make or break your dating life in many cases, because they definitely led to a lot of confusion and mistakes for me back then. And this first one is a game that every man is a part of without realizing it. It's something that's going on behind the scenes with every woman you meet, and it's a critical concept to understand because it will help clear up a lot of confusion when dealing with women if you really internalize it. Now, I refer to this idea as the leaderboard principle, and this took me a while to fully understand until I experienced it on both sides of the coin. This is also one of those things that you should pay attention to if you're a guy that really cares about a girl's body count, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the idea of the leaderboard principle is that every girl has a leaderboard going on in the back of her mind that ranks the guys that she's been with. And the man that has had the most impact on her will be at the top of that leaderboard. It's similar to the ranking of sports teams or a leaderboard in a video game. The team with the most wins or the player with the best stats leads all the others behind them, and they hold the rank of being the best. Now with a woman, the guy holding the highest position on the leaderboard is the man that she will compare all other men to. It's the guy that has made the biggest emotional impact on her overall. And pay attention to what I just said there. Emotional impact, not the most amount of money or the nicest car. It's the guy that has left the biggest mark on her life, and this is usually the guy that got away or the guy that she was hooked on, but things were too turbulent to work out with him for some reason or another, or maybe he just rejected her. This is a concept that took me a while to get when I was younger until I started cross-referencing the idea with multiple women and also with guys that would tell me their dating stories. The leaderboard principle is the reason why girls go back to a guy repeatedly even though he isn't actually a great choice on the surface, or why a girl can be with you physically but she's somewhere else mentally. She's in bed with you, but her mind is with the guy who is ranked number one on the leaderboard. And this can go on for a literal lifetime. I knew a woman in her 50s who said that she still thought every day about a guy that she was in love with when she was 19 years old, and she's currently married now. I've had certain girls stalk me, and I've known guys that have had exes stalking them for years, and this principle is why. And for you guys that are worried about a girl's body count, you should actually be concerned with who is at the top of her leaderboard and if that guy is still around in some way or another. And that is a much bigger problem than some random dudes within her body count that she doesn't care about at all. And I'm not saying that body count isn't an issue, it definitely is, and I wouldn't recommend getting with the girl who's been with the whole town. But guys have a tendency to really hone in on body count because of how our brains work naturally as men. But when you do this, you also miss the bigger elephant that is in the room. The bigger threat to you is the guy that got away in her mind, or the guy that has made the biggest impact on her leaderboard, because that man holds a piece of her emotional being that can last literally forever. And most men will not be able to surpass that guy standing on the board unless they make a stronger emotional impact on the woman, and that's when you take over the ranking of number one. And speaking of having a strong impact, something else that can have a strong impact on your life is taking care of your skin, which is why I'm proud to have Tiege Hanley as a sponsor of today's video. Now, I know you guys have heard me talk about taking care of your skin before, but keeping things simple is also really important to me. And one of the best things you can do is just to start using a face wash and a moisturizer every morning, along with some sunscreen to protect your skin from the harmful rays of the sun, which can leave your skin looking leathery and older than you actually are. If you really take notice of the people that tend to look the best for their age, they typically are the ones that also have healthy looking skin. So it's important to take care of your skin so that you have that more vibrant, youthful look to your skin as you continue to age. And women will definitely take notice of a guy who puts effort into the details like taking care of your skin. So if you want to start with a simple routine where all you need to do is just wake up, wash your face, and then moisturize, Tiege Hanley is offering an insane deal on their face wash and their AM moisturizer which already has sunscreen inside of it to make things even simpler, so you don't need another bottle of sunscreen to get the benefits of protection from the sun. Tiege Hanley has over 10,000 5-star reviews that you can see on their website, and they make things easy for guys that want to maximize their attractiveness by taking care of their skin. So click the link in the description or the pinned comment to get both the face wash and the AM moisturizer for just $9. $9 is cheap enough to where I don't want to hear any guy out there giving any excuses why they can't start taking care of their skin. So don't even try, bro. So make sure to click the link down below and get started on your skincare journey today. All right, now to branch off the previous point about a girl's past is something that I used to really struggle with when I was younger. Once I started to really like a girl, I'd always get in my head picturing the other dudes that she had been with, and it would literally nauseate me. I used to really struggle with this. And it's a thought that you can probably relate to as well, because we as men usually battle that inherent disgust picturing a woman we like with another man, even if it doesn't make logical sense on the surface to do so. However, what I started to notice over time was that the guys with the most experience with women were often the ones that cared the least about a girl's past. And then as I gained more and more experience, I started to care less and less as well. But before I go on, let me make this clear again. I'm not endorsing dating some chick who has slept with the football team. It's not a good idea to date these chicks that are clearly for the streets or excuse that behavior. But what I am saying is that if you're trying to find a virgin angel of a woman, you're pretty much living in a dreamland. I mean, if you can do that, cool, that's great for you. But for 99% of men, you're gonna end up dating a chick who has been with other dudes before. Now, less is better, of course, but less is still some. And if you're the type of guy that gets hung up on the reality of that, you're gonna have a very hard time when dating. You have to remember that a woman had a life before you, and even if she's a saint of a woman, she likely had a boyfriend or two before you, and that's in a really good scenario. Most have had more than that, and most have had one-night stands as well. But the brutal truth that I discovered over time was that the only way to really get over a girl's history is to have experience yourself. And I'm not advising sleeping with 300 women, because I know some of you guys don't have any desire to do something like that, but I am advising staying single for a while and getting a variety of experience with different women to really understand the game and harness a deeper understanding of how things work with women and sexual dynamics in general. Because what I've noticed in online discussions is guys get this weird fixated view of a girl's past that does nothing but destroy your own mind, because you're hyper fixated on something that you can't control anyway, and you're focused on the wrong thing. And a lot of the time, this stems from being a guy who just doesn't have a lot of experience. So the only way to absorb this reality check is to be present in reality and gaining experience firsthand with women over time to understand how things work and how these situations even come about. Now, this next one connects back to the leaderboard principle in another way. And again, this is one of those concepts that will solve a lot of your confusion when you truly get it and experience it firsthand. When I was younger, I was really oblivious to this one, and I would just take what women said at face value. And I noticed a lot of guys doing the same thing. If a woman said that she didn't sleep with a guy until date 5, I'd believe her. If a woman was doing something and said that she had never done it with another guy before, I'd believe her. If a woman said that she'd only date this type of guy or that type of guy, I'd believe her. And you probably have too at some point. But these types of scenarios are only partial truths or just flat out lies. The problem as a man is that we have the tendency to be very logical and just take what is said at face value, which makes sense, right? If someone says something, they must mean it. But it doesn't work that way, and it's especially more nuanced with women. When a woman says that she doesn't sleep with a guy until at least the 5th date, she may be telling the truth. But what's more likely is that she won't sleep with you until the 5th date. When a woman says that she doesn't date this type of guy or that type of guy, again, she may be telling the truth. But what's more likely is that she isn't attracted to you. The thing to understand about feminine energy as a whole is that it's very pliable and it's always in flux. Feminine energy is more chaotic and unpredictable, which makes it fun to be around in a lot of ways, but it causes confusion when you view everything through a logical lens, which is why I stress understanding the emotional side of the brain, and I'll continue to stress that. And the brutal truth that hit me as time went on was that it just always comes down to being the right guy for that particular girl. And you'll hear the celebrity analogy about this all the time too. Like if Brad Pitt texted the girl who's ignoring you, she'd reply in 10 seconds. And there's a lot of truth to that. It illustrates this concept well, but to bring it back down to earth beyond celebrities, a woman will not only have less rules for the right guy, but she will completely throw the rule book out the window and play by that guy's rules while being totally conscious of this. And when you fully understand this, it explains a lot of the hot and cold behavior you've experienced in the dating scene, or things like a lack of sexual desire or a girl being a prude. Because when a girl is on fire for you, there is absolutely no mistaking it. And remember this, all girls are freaks for the right man. The man that sparks that emotional fire internally and inspires a feeling that they have a hard time finding anywhere else. And that is how you get to the top of the leaderboard. So let's expand a little more on the idea of feminine energy being more chaotic and unpredictable, because this is where another logical hangup happens for men all the time. And it goes back to the idea that our brains as men work in a very logically based, set in stone kind of way. For instance, if I tell you, hey bro, you're one of my best friends and I appreciate you, you will take that at face value, believe that is my opinion of you, and that will last in your memory. You will associate my opinion of you with that conversation forever, unless we have an obvious falling out of some kind that makes us dislike each other. But when it comes to women, things are a bit different, and this is where guys get lost and angry a lot of the time. Now, the truth is that when women say something, unless it's just a flat out lie, it is absolutely true to them in the moment, but that doesn't mean that it's not subject to change in the next moment. And it's typically subject to change based on their emotional state. Where guys will get angry and confused is when a woman will say something like, I love you so much and I want to be with you forever. And then they get cheated on 6 months later and they rage at the fact that the woman said that she wanted to be with him forever. Like, how could she say that and then go and cheat or do something like that? The thing is that it's absolutely true in the moment that she felt that way. Her emotions were true to her in that instance. She truly did feel that way. But it doesn't mean that that will remain true. A girl that says that she wants to go out with you on Monday may not feel that way on Friday anymore, and you'll wonder why she flaked on you. You really have to remember that emotions are fickle and fleeting, and when dealing with women, their biological makeup is fundamentally different and biased toward being heavily influenced by current emotional states rather than any set in stone logical code. But the brutal truth remains that you cannot only take words at face value and think that you're safe, because you're never entirely safe. The brutal truth is that her emotions are always subject to change, which means her decisions are subject to change. And a better metric to judge a woman by is her actions and her level of respect for you, not her words. And before I hop into this next one, I want to ask you if you've ever had a situation where a girl is taking longer and longer between replies, or a girl says something like she just wants to focus on herself for a while and not date anyone. The reason I ask is because I tend to see these scenarios a lot when guys come to me for coaching, and I've experienced these as well when I was younger. It's very common for men to wonder why a woman is taking so long to respond, or to take her word at face value when she says that she isn't looking to date anyone right now, or the dreaded, I just need to work on myself. The harsh truth of these situations is that women are pretty much always talking to some guy on some level. Again, it's a sliding scale, so it may be more casual or it could be more serious with a guy. But you will rarely ever come across a woman who isn't currently talking to some guy on some level. I always say that women don't just suddenly become okay with getting zero attention and then they're just going to go into this isolated state not talking to any guys at all. Because they're wired to be social at their core, and attention is their currency. I mean, sure, there are exceptions here and there for some women that truly don't want to date anyone for the time being, but these cases are more of the exception rather than the rule. What is far more common is that the girl that's taking 12 hours to reply to you because she's so busy has actually in reality sent about 20 messages that same day to a guy that she has higher interest in. What is far more common is when a girl says that she just wants to work on herself for a while. She really means that she just isn't into you and wants to keep her options open or pursue another guy. So why do they do this? The answer is because they're non-confrontational at their core, and it's easier to deflect like that than it is to tell you straight up that they just aren't into you. And if by some chance a woman just tells you straight up that she isn't into you, it's usually paired with a message that talks about how you're a really great guy and that you deserve a great girl, followed by the rejection. There's almost always that layer of not wanting to be confrontational, which is also why ghosting is so popular. It makes it easy to just slip out the back door rather than face anything head on. So understand that the vast majority of women that you come in contact with aren't just going into hiding away from all men. There's almost always another guy that you just aren't seeing, and that can be a brutal truth that is painful to accept, but that's life. However, you shouldn't feel discouraged by any of this. Instead, you should just adjust your perspective to see reality for what it is and not what you wish it to be, because many guys have a warped perspective of how things actually are. And in my opinion, another warped perspective is that the competition in dating is just so tough these days. But I actually disagree with that idea. So make sure to watch this video next, where I talk about why the competition in the dating market is the weakest it's ever been and why it's easier than ever to stand out to women.